It all started with a normal day at work. I worked at a small grocery store at the time, and my duties consisted of gathering shopping carts in the parking lot and bagging groceries. Normal minimum wage stuff. It was rainy that morning, and of course, I was assigned to carts all day. About 2 hours into my shift, I saw a man rushing to get his groceries into the car. It was pouring. I ran over to him and started helping him with his bags. "It's pouring," I said. "Mind if I help you get out of the rain?" "Yeah, thank you so much," he said. As he was closing his trunk, he looked at me with a very surprised look on his face. He lowered his eyebrows, looked me up and down, and smirked. "Are you a new hire?" "No, I've been here for a couple of months." "Oh, well, you are very pretty," he said in a weirdly sensual tone. "Thank you. Have a good day." I shut it down. I was not interested. As I was walking back to the store to hide until he left, I could feel him watching me while I walked away. Nevertheless, I continued to work, not really thinking about it. After my lunch, I was at the register bagging groceries, and I noticed that same man from earlier walk in. I pretended that I didn't see him and just kept bagging. He came up to the register and got a single chocolate bar. I didn't give him a bag. He starts towering over me and says, "Aren't you going to bag my item?" "Oh, sorry, I didn't know you wanted a bag for one thing." I put his chocolate bar in a bag and told him to have a good day. "So, when are you off work, sweetheart?" he said. "Ah, man, I'm not comfortable giving that information out." He returned with, "That's okay, you've been here, 5 hours? You probably get off around 6 or 7, right?" He smiled, winked at me, and walked away. Disgusted, I went to my manager and told her what happened. She told me to not work the lot anymore and to ask somebody to walk me to my car. So by the end of my shift, I had a male coworker walk me to my truck, and we scanned the parking lot looking for this man's car. We didn't see him, so my coworker went back inside and I started my truck. I called my mom to tell her about what happened, and once she answered, I left the parking lot. The second I turned onto the road, I saw his car pull onto the road behind me. I told my mom I thought he was going to follow me, and she just told me to drive around a bit to try and lose him. I drove around for about 20 minutes, just going in circles around my town. I had a red light, and he pulled up next to me and started yelling something to me out of his open window. I, of course, pretended he wasn't there, but I could still hear what he was saying. "You would bear some good kids for me. You'd make a great slave for me, little lady," he said. He then started being very explicit about what he was going to do to me if he caught me. I told my mom I was going to call 911, and if I wasn't home in an hour, then call the police. While I was trying to dial 911, the man speeds ahead of my truck and starts brake checking me. Frantic, I wait for the closest intersection and turn out the block. My phone fell under my seat while I was turning, so I decided to go to the nearest open establishment and run in and hide and have somebody else call 911. The closest open business I could find was a convenience store at a gas station. I pull in, park, and run for my life into the store. I tell the clerk what's happening, and she takes me to the break room and locks me in there. While processing that I might have survived this ordeal, I hear the doors of the storefront start violently rattling, and before I knew it, the clerk was locking herself in the break room too. She was on the phone with the police, and they were on their way. We were silent, cowering in a dark room. I found myself feeling guilty for wrapping another woman into our worst fear. My thoughts were racing through what I said to him. Did I lead him on? No, I just told him to have a good day. Has he been following me for longer than tonight? How did he know what car I drove? Are the police going to get here in time? And are we gonna die? Finally, the small room is illuminated with red and blue lights from the crack under the door. We hear a voice over the intercom telling us that it's safe to come out. Shaking, the clerk takes out her keys and opens the door. We walk out and give our statements. After the police leave, I turn to my unexpected savior and profusely thank her. We cry, hug, and she walks me to my car. I have been in a near-fatal car accident, 10 feet away from a mountain lion in the wild, and I'm a survivor of sexual assault. I can tell you, reader, with total honesty, I thought that was the end of my line. Thanks for reading, so stay aware, be cautious, and always be safe. First time posting on Reddit, and I'm doing it from my phone, so I apologize ahead of time for any format issues. I'm still new in learning the ropes, but go ahead and settle in, folks, because this is a long one. I don't know how to tell a short story, apparently, and I didn't want to leave anything out. This happened in January a year and a half ago, on my way into work one cold, wintry Friday morning. I had a rough start that day. I remember waking up in a panic as I realized that I was holding my phone in my hand and had been hitting snooze in my alarms for the last hour. I wasn't even giving them a chance to sound. Apparently, as soon as my phone started to vibrate, which it does a second or so before the music begins to play, I would hit the side button to silence it. I was exhausted. I had already worked Monday through Thursday, 10-hour days that typically turn into 12s at that time of year, and I had just found out that I was pregnant the week prior, so I was even more tired than normal. And this type of behavior was very unlike me. I'm always on time to work. I don't usually work on Fridays, but once a year we have our annual mandatory training for all the staff members. It's definitely not a day that can be missed or one to be extremely late to, so I quickly throw on some clothes, tie my hair up in a ponytail, and brush my teeth, and then out the door I went. I had 25 minutes until I had to be there, so I didn't even let my car warm up. As I pulled out of my driveway, I remember thinking to myself that my dad would kill me if he knew. He's a mechanic, and that was something he always preached the importance of. I finally get out the neighborhood, hit the highway, and notice that my gas light is on. Another annoyance that would cut into my time, but I decided that I would stop once I got off on the exit, as I had a few minutes to spare. So I did. I pull my car up to the pump and turn it off, hop out into the freezing cold to get the gas started, and quickly jump back in. There's a guy about my father's age pumping gas into his white work truck right in front of me, but I don't really pay him much mind. Those trucks were everywhere near my workplace at the time, as it's near the river where all the bridge construction had been going on. I'm texting my friend from work and letting her know where I am when I get that feeling that somebody is looking at me. I look up and make eye contact with the work truck guy. He quickly looks away as I hear the gas click off. I get back out to finish and don't think anything else about it, and then hop back in, ready to get to work. At this point, I probably had about 5 minutes left, which would have been plenty considering the proximity. I press the start button. Click, click, click. Shit. I thought as I did it again, only to hear that same sound. What do you know? My car won't start. The battery's dead, and for the second time that morning, I thought of my dad and his advice. If I had just let it warm up, I wouldn't be having this problem right now. I try a third time, hoping it's the charm, but it's no use. The guy in the work truck notices at this point. He starts to make his way towards me, so I step out of my car. He asks me if I'm having car trouble, and I tell him that I think my battery's dead. He tells me that he can help me, but that he doesn't have jumper cables in this particular truck. That he does, however, only work right down the road, and he's on one of the bridge crews, just as I assumed, and has a set there. He says he will run to them and come right back. I tell him that he doesn't have to do that, but he says he doesn't mind at all. I think about it for a second. My husband's at home already asleep at this point. He works third shift, and I don't want to wake him up if there's no need, and my dad's already at his job. I remember thinking that he probably has a kid my age somewhere, one that he would hope somebody would help in this type of situation one day. That he's probably just a father trying to help, and so I say okay and thank him for his help. He said, no problem, that he'd be back in a couple of minutes, and left to get the jumper cables. I usually have a set in my car, but I had loaned them to my brother the week before, and he hadn't returned them yet. As I'm waiting, I call my boss to let her know what is going on, and that I will be in as soon as possible. She offers to send someone out there to help, but I tell her about the work truck guy and that I'll call her back if this doesn't work. By the time I hang up, he's back with the cables, and we get my car started back up again. We let it run for a few minutes and make small talk that's of little importance, like typical strangers do when they're trying to fill the silence. It's during this time that he asks me if I'm a nurse. Immediately, I'm alarmed because I'm not wearing any scrubs. I think he can see the shock on my face because he quickly said that he noticed my license plate when he was pulling back in. I laugh in relief and slight embarrassment as I remember that my license plate is in fact one of the state-issued nursing ones, and reply that yes, I am a nurse and that I'm actually running late for work. He asks if I work at the hospital up the road, to which I reply, no, I do not. Now he's the one that looks confused, because where else would a nurse work, right? I didn't want to give too much away. I'm still a woman and I watch the news, and I feel a little uncomfortable with the questions, but I don't want to be rude, so I say, oh, I work at a facility not too far from here, and leave it at that. I mention again how I'm running late, and he unhooks the jumper cables. I thank him once again, and we both get in our vehicle and drive away. I let him pull out first, and then I proceed to take a roundabout way to work, just in case he was watching. I felt kind of silly, but you never know, right? I finally get to work, and I jump straight into the training. I honestly don't think about what happened that morning again, except here and there when my coworkers ask a few questions in the break room during lunch. The long day finally comes to an end, and we all head out. As I'm walking towards my car, I see a piece of paper shoved into the driver's side window. I stand there and look at it for a second, thinking of the guy from that morning, and then glance around the parking lot. I don't see anything unusual and remind myself that he didn't know where I worked. I laugh at being so paranoid because it's probably a note from my best friend, who actually does work at the hospital a few blocks over. We leave each other notes occasionally if we see each other's cars we drive by. I started it back when she was going through a rough time the year before, and it just kind of became our thing. As I'm sure you can guess, the note wasn't from her. It was from the work truck guy from that morning. I don't remember it all word for word, but most of it I know I'll never forget. It made my skin crawl and thoroughly freaked me out. It listed his phone number at the top with an arrow pointing to it that said, "Call soon, love." It said that he felt we had this connection, one of two souls, and that he wanted to continue getting to know me. That he knew the reason why he was at that gas pump in front of me that morning was so that he could find me, because the Lord knows he has been searching for me for so many years now. That he couldn't just let me slip away, and we couldn't just ignore fate like that. No, not when it has been made as clear as it was that morning. I dropped that piece of paper like it was on fire. Felt my heart drop with all the panic and paranoia that came after reading it. I was so freaked out that I immediately called my mom, my dad, and my husband. I didn't want to drive home. What if he followed me? Did he not see my wedding ring? How did he even find out where I worked? He literally had to have driven through about 20 other medical facility parking lots just to find my car, because I watched him drive off in the other direction and never saw him turn around to my rear view. Trust me, I was watching. My work building is kind of hard to find too, with it being off the main road on a side street, especially for a man that lived a couple of hours north from here, as he told me earlier during our small talk. He wouldn't have been familiar with the surrounding area enough to just come upon my car like that. I didn't walk in or out of work by myself for months after this, not until well after the bridge was finished. It's always nighttime when I arrive to work, and for the part of the year when I leave, so there was no way in heck that I was going to walk across that dark parking lot by myself. I've never seen him again, but that hasn't stopped me from feeling like somebody is watching me at random times. That type of paranoia just kind of sticks with you. If only I had just listened to my dad's advice and let the damn car warm up. But that's a mistake I have not and will not ever make again, I can guarantee that. First off, this is 100% true, and it all happened last night. So, my wife and I went to a movie last night. Skyscraper. It was okay, and got home around 9 p.m. We live in a new development. It's middle class to upper middle class, a nice safe area. We don't have a mailbox in front of our house. It's one of those neighborhoods where all the mailboxes are together at the end of our street, so we don't always check it, but I knew I was getting a package from Amazon, so we went by. There was the package in a letter with a typed envelope made out to my name, but with a return address with no name, but from the street behind us. We don't know anyone here well, so I opened it up as we drove down the street. What I read shocked me. It said, "We are watching you, Mr. Sex Pervert," with a picture of two creepy eyes. I was floored. So we get home and my wife is pretty upset. I'm pissed off and confused. To be clear, I'm truly not a pervert as far as I know. And I'm also faithfully married to my wife. We have no weird fetishes. I've never ever been even accused of anything perverted in my life by anyone, nor have I really done anything that comes to mind. If anything, my wife had complained about me being too bland. So anyways, at my wife's urging, I call the sheriff's department. They agree that it's creepy and they will send somebody out, but can't promise how long it will be. Things get even weirder. We've been home for probably 5 minutes now total, and our car alarm starts going off. It's happened before. I occasionally accidentally hit the panic button in my pocket, but I'm sitting inside by the window hitting the stop button and it won't turn off. I admittedly get frustrated. I'm already in a bad mood and throw it down, and it breaks my key fob. But my wife turns it off with hers. So we decide to take a drive and see what house this letter came from behind us before the sheriff shows up. Turns out that house number doesn't exist. For some reason they skipped it when numbering the street, but if it had existed, it would be directly behind us about. When we pull back up to the house, our next door neighbors and the ones across the street are both outside talking animatedly. We go to see what's going on. Apparently, when our car alarm was going off, so was our next door neighbors. They parked in the street between our two houses. I hadn't heard them, with me also going off, but they did, and the neighbor across the street heard 2 car alarms going off and came out to look. And right in front of this house was a guy sitting in a black car, lights off, who, once he came out, took off down the road quickly with his lights off. He chased it a little on foot trying to get a license plate, but it was too dark and they took off. So he also calls the sheriff. About 5 minutes later, 2 pull up coincidentally about the same time. The one dispatched for my call and one for his. They have no idea what to think. Ask if I have enemies, bad exes, or family problems, if I've ever been accused of anything, or if I can think of anyone, but the truthful answer to all of those is no. But they take a report, take the letter and evidence, give me a card if anything else happens. So, I barely slept last night. I'm just dumbstruck and confused. I don't know any of my neighbors well except for the next door ones. Not many people even know my address. Since they use a return address of the street behind us for an address that doesn't exist, I feel like they know the area. My name and address are on our HOA website, which could be where they got my name possibly. But I've truly done nothing. My imagination is running wild, but I'm out of ideas. Was the car a coincidence? Is this person insane? My wife is scared but trusts me. Any ideas on what the heck to do next, or why somebody would be doing this, are appreciated. I'm a long-time lurker and have never had a story to share until now. I'm starting to feel really creeped out about this. I hope I'm just overreacting and it turns out to not be some weirdo doing this, but I don't know of anyone who would do this, and we've already asked around to family and friends, and nobody knows what we are talking about. 2 weeks ago, my mom started getting deliveries from a local flower shop with cryptic messages and has no idea who they're coming from. And then today something else happened. The first that came a couple weeks ago was a bouquet with a note. Do these smell better? She asked her boyfriend and he said he didn't order anything and was equally as weirded out as her that she was receiving flowers from a total stranger. Not to mention the weird note with no context. She had no idea who it would be or what the note meant. Do these flowers smell better than what? There was no context, and it sounded like some kind of inside joke that she was supposed to understand, but had no idea what they were referring to. She mentioned it to my dad and her close friends too. It wasn't them either. She called the flower shop and they said they weren't allowed to disclose who it came from and wouldn't give her any information, so it wasn't like it was just a promo thing from the shop to get business. Yesterday, she texted me while I was at work and she said she just received another bouquet with chocolates and another note. White, blue, red, and green buttons falling from a tree. It said, typos included, not that it matters. At least, the first note made half sense. This one was just weird. Then today something else happened. Without being specific, obviously, my mom has the same last name as a historical figure. She just got a random Amazon package, opened it, and it was a book about that same historical figure, called Have You Heard of Blank? It was a kid's book. I and my younger brother are both adults, so there's no reason for anyone to send this as a gift, and we have different last names anyways. I am a female in my 20s who recently moved back in with my mom and my brother for financial reasons to get back on my feet and pay for my divorce after the lease for my place was up. My brother works the night shift, so it's only me and my mom in the house at night, which is when I'm the most worried something will happen. I can't think of any reason why somebody would be doing this without saying anything, unless they're being a creep, and we can't think of anyone who would do this as a prank. The first one was strange, but we just kind of brushed it off, thinking it wouldn't happen again. The second one yesterday makes it even more creepy, and the random book today made both of us even more uneasy. It's one thing to send flowers, but whoever it was went out of their way to get a random Amazon book with her last name on it. I'm really weirded out now, knowing that there's nothing we can really do but wait and see if something happens again or if things get creepier. I feel helpless, and the thought of us being home alone at night freaks me out. I know nothing has actually happened, but I just don't feel safe. If the person doing this has ill intentions, they know where we live. Her boyfriend stays at the house on the weekends, stays with his kids during the week, so I feel a lot safer when he's there. But during the week, it's just us. Other than that, I have no idea who it is or why they're doing this, but to whoever the heck is sending random flowers and gifts and weird messages to our home, let's not meet. Hey everyone. So, about 2 months ago, I moved across the country to finish university in Colorado. Less than 3 weeks after moving in, my boyfriend left for work and he forgot to lock the front door. I woke up 2 hours after he left to some noise in my bathroom, and just as I was going back to bed, I saw some guy walk past my door. I was half asleep and I was sleeping in my underwear, so my first thought was pants, and I was half asleep and didn't have time to grab my phone. I ran after the guy and started questioning him. He was a few rooms from the bedroom where my phone was, so I was afraid to get it and he would run away or hurt me from behind. He said that he was in the wrong apartment and that he was looking for his roommate John, so I immediately started yelling at him, looking around the apartment to see what I could grab or do. I basically made him empty his pockets and all that when I noticed he had money in his sock. He refused to show me the money and he crept towards the door. I followed him out and followed him all the way down the hallway while yelling at him, basically saying, "What the heck are you doing in my apartment?" over and over. We got to the stairs and one of the building managers saw me and asked if I knew him, and the second I said no, he took off running. When I finally got to the apartment to call the police, I realized my wallet was in the bathroom, empty, when before it was on my nightstand inches from me. They caught the guy a few days later. There are even articles about him, but he's out on bail right now, I think. I'm still constantly waking up to noises, probably from my upstairs neighbor, and constantly waking up paralyzed with fear. I go to victim counseling, but it's not very helpful. I installed a video doorbell, a camera in the kitchen facing the door, a taser, a few pepper sprays, and one of those 2-piece alarms from Amazon, but still I'm uneasy. I barely sleep, and I'm in a constant state of hypervigilance. Does anybody have a similar experience with tips on how to recover? The counselor says I have PTSD, but nothing on how I should continue on from here. I'm lucky the guy didn't pull out a gun considering it's Colorado, but now I guess I'm afraid of him coming back to shut me up or somebody else coming in, and I won't get as lucky as last time.